Live on WFLA Now. Feel good and live your best life with Bloom Health Club. Here's Gail Guayardo.
Hi, everyone. This is going to be an amazing show today. I am with my dear friend, double certified nutritionist, Martha VanCamp. I'm your host, Gail Guayardo, and joining us is our digital reporter and producer from BloomTampaBay.com, Brody Waddell. Welcome, Martha. It is such a pleasure to have you join the Bloom Health Club.
Thank you. This slideshow is a little scary.
So everyone, Martha has helped thousands and thousands of women get on a personal health journey, many times a weight loss journey. And this really started with your own personal journey.
Yeah, it was a long journey. It was at the age of 9. Well, first of all, I'm seated at this point, but if I was standing, everyone would know that I'm 6 foot tall. So I come from a very tall family. And at the age of 9, I got called Big Bertha by Brian Humphrey, who was standing. I just called him out by his first name.
That's right, Brian. We know who you
Brian,
are.
You're on Facebook and you're going down. I got called Big Bertha. We were in line to go out for recess. And I don't think it was because I was overweight. When I look back at pictures when I was 9, I wasn't. I was just super tall. I was 5 foot tall in 4th grade. So I was bigger than all the boys. But so I remember going home to my dad, and my dad was 6'8", had one arm because of an accident he was in when as a child, and I was crying to my father, and he basically gave me no sympathy. He's like, Martha, at least you have 2 arms.
Yeah.
But he used that a lot.
Right? So from that moment on, from the age of 9, let's just call it 10, until the age of 40, so that's 3 decades, right? Just really had a very poor relationship with food. So tried every diet, very unhealthy practices. And finally at the age of 40, I thought, okay, game's over. I got to figure this out on my own because every traditional diet was just making everything worse. So that's when my journey really started when I was 40, which was almost 12 years ago.
Which is okay. I think that's the beauty of this entire story, is that it's never too late to get on your health journey. Martha and I met on Bloom, which is the nationally, now globally syndicated health show, which is produced and broadcast out of the NBC affiliate WFLA News Channel 8 here in Tampa, Florida. And we became fast friends. We met. It was kind of a love at first sight thing. And we both had a love for TV because she's also was in the TV industry. So we had a lot in common. Then we became friends as, mothers, women, trying to just stay healthy and feel better. And I think our stories mirror so many other stories out there of women who feel like, well, I'm a certain age. It is what it is. It comes with the territory. But Martha, you found out that that is not the truth. Talk about how much weight you lost.
So starting at the age of 40, I was 275 pounds. And then I thought, okay, because I'm 6 foot, I just want to get down to 200. And so when I approached 200, I thought, okay, I'm done. I'm good now. And so I really had no end goal. I just wanted to feel better, look better. And what I was noticing is that with every little bit that I lost, my confidence was soaring. I was becoming a more patient mom. I was becoming a better wife because I was being more vulnerable in my journey. So over the period of 8 years, I've lost 136 pounds. That's kind of where I live. And whenever I tell someone how much I've lost, their first question is always, well, how long did it take you to lose that? And I tell people that's the worst question you'd ask. Your question should be, how do I do that? But for full disclosure, it took me 8 years because I wasn't in a rush. And so I would take these times of doing little sprints and then learning how to maintain, because maintaining the weight loss is so much harder than losing. And I think that's where traditional diets fail us, because there's an end point and you're like, okay, I'm here. And then what'd you learn? How are you going to sustain this? What are you going to do next? How are you going to make this a lifestyle?
And you walk around kind of like a walking encyclopedia when it comes to, health and wellness. When did you pivot and decide, you know what, I'm going to get certified. Yeah. I'm going to figure this all out. And not only am I going to help myself, but I'm going to help other women as well.
So even at the age of 40, I didn't know what a macronutrient was, because we were all taught to count calories, right? Yep. And we didn't realize that it's the macronutrients, which are lean protein, complex carbs, healthy fats, that make up the calories, right? So for every gram of lean protein, it's 4 calories. And for every gram of complex carbohydrates is 9 calories. So it's those things that make up the calories. So for me, I really pivoted at the age of 40 when I thought, okay, I need to learn this. I want to study this. I hated science, but suddenly this mindset or this big aircraft carrier of someone who had been way behind the scenes. I was a director of marketing and television. I was over news production. I sang. I played piano. So science was not really my thing. I'm so right brain focused. So at the age of 40, I thought, I have got to figure this out. There's nothing left for me to do. I have got to figure this out. So it was at the age of 40. And as I started to lose weight, I saw how all these women were approaching me thinking, oh my gosh, if she can do it, I can do it. What's the secret sauce? And I realized I had figured out the secret sauce. It's about learning how whole food nutrition, not processed, not Pop-Tarts, not nachos and margaritas, really are what our body needs. And so then I opened up my own CrossFit gym. I had no business doing that, but I thought, okay, I can help other people. But even people at my gym weren't losing weight. They were doing the traditional exercises, but it's, you can't outrun that fork. So then I just started writing meal plans. They were the same meal plans that I was using. So I started writing meal plans for other people and giving them recipes, and they were losing weight too. So that's when I realized, okay, wait a minute, I need a little legitimacy here. So I became a double certified nutritionist.
And it's a great journey because a lot of times we're talking, it might sound like we're only talking about weight loss, but weight loss is really just the tip of the iceberg. Martha comes on Bloom regularly, and we talk about how food heals, food to cater to different health concerns that you might have. And I think that's the other interesting thing that we try to do on Bloom, and you and I as women try to do together, is to open up the conversation with other women so you're not out there struggling alone. And if we're all sharing our secrets and we're all bringing it to the common good, then you start to see those changes, and you hear of this power aging actively. Age is just a number now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we think about it this way. I think in your 20s, we're not really worried about it. We're just thinking about, okay, how great can I look in that outfit? And then we get into our 30s and maybe we're with a partner and we're wanting to have children and all those things. And then there's a shift in the late 30s, early 40s. Women who've maybe had this great career and they have a couple kids at home and a dog, and they're trying to be the great mother and the great spouse. And then we all start to feel like crap in our 40s. And we go to our doctors, and what do our doctors tell us? Well, you're probably a little anxious or a little overstressed. So here, take this Xanax, take this Prozac. You're going to feel less depressed, less anxious. When in reality, what's happening in our bodies, and so many doctors don't talk about this, is that women's progesterone levels are starting to go down in the tank. They're going down the kitchen sink, and it's that hormone, the low progesterone, that is causing us to feel anxious and causing us to feel depressed. And so if we can step back as women and who understand the science, or we get together with a really good functional medicine doctor who thinks non-traditionally, maybe a mixture of Eastern and Western medicine. But when we combine all that with food and we have these open conversations like, Gail, I'm feeling like crap. And like, what can I do? All those things. When we have those real life conversations with other women, we can then help and empower. I hate that word, but like help other women so that we can learn that we have to be our own best advocate in this whole journey, because a lot of traditional doctors just want to shove you a pill.
It's just going to be the next pill. It's going to be the stronger, version of the pill the next time you go.
Right.
I'm glad you brought up the functional medicine doctor, because going to one, even if you can't afford to go to one on a regular basis, because this is typically out of pocket. There's not a lot of functional medicine doctors that are taking your Blue Cross Blue Shield or Cigna, but that's okay, because you can go to them for a 1-2 hour meeting. You pay the money, you walk away with a lot of knowledge, and knowledge is power, because then you can take that back to your traditional doctor and say, hey, this compounded version of my thyroid medicine's working a lot better than whatever it is that I'm just taking of a script. You come back with the answers so that you can get the care that you need under your insurance plan. I mean, there are ways to work around this as women where you're not paying so much out of pocket.
Right, but you got to have that knowledge, and you have to understand. Like, here's a really good example. And look, I'm not dissing all traditional MDs or internists. Like you and I have a group of really good doctors who are more traditional, but they do also function in that functional medicine arena. But, when it comes down to thyroid, most traditional doctors will only give you 3 tests for thyroid. when in reality, there's between 9 and 11 tests to really understand if your thyroid is optimally, tuned. So when we think about lab work, we always go to these labs and they have the normal range. Well, frankly, I told people, I was speaking in Houston this past weekend, I said, I don't want to be normal. I want to be optimized. I want to optimize every area of my health, because you can come from a lab result and a doctor's visit and he or she will say, look, you're within normal range, but I still feel like crap.
The normal range many times is set by the diagnostic company.
Correct.
Like it's just some broadband thing.
Right.
It doesn't really mean anything. To your point,
Right.
You have to be working at an optimal level. And I keep bringing up thyroid because, a doctor came on Bloom and said, listen, 80% of people, primarily
Yes.
women, are dealing with thyroid issues, and they might be falling into that quote normal range, but it's not normal because you're still gaining the weight.
Yep.
Your hair is still thinning.
You're exhausted.
You're exhausted.
You're anxious.
all the
Yeah.
time. You're
Yeah.
anxious, and you feel like, maybe, is it me? Am I going,
Right.
off the deep end here? What's happening? What's happening is that you're working at a baseline level
Right.
when you need to level up.
Right.
I get so jazzed when Martha's around. I'm sorry, Brody. Do you have any questions for this amazing?
No,
Hi,
I'm
Brody.
enjoying
Welcome to the
show.
chat.
Hey, how's it going? No, I'm learning so much. It's amazing. Yeah. I don't know. I guess my question would just be, like, you talked about, like, when you started, what was like your eureka moment? Why did it take you 40 years to have that?
At the time, I was on my second marriage. So, I wasn't always hugely overweight, but I would roller coaster like most women. So I'd been up, I'd been down, I'd been on the divorce diet, I'd been on the single mom diet, all those things. I guess I just realized at the age of 40, I went to the doctor, ironically, to have my thyroid checked. And I, still to this day, I refuse to be weighed at the doctor's office. But so I was on the scale and I always turned my back so I didn't have to see the number. And I would always say, don't tell me the number, don't tell me the number, right? So at the end of the visit, she had upped my thyroid meds and my blood pressure was always great, but it was my thyroid that was wonkadoo. And so at the end of the visit, I would always fold the summary paper that I would get as I checked out in half because I didn't want to see my weight and I didn't want to see anything else. Like, I don't want to know the number. So, at that point I was wearing a size 22, a double XL, all the things. I mean, I still loved clothes, but didn't feel confident at all. So, here's the aha wacky moment. I exited the doctor's office. I had this piece of paper in my hand and it was folded over. And so I was juggling my purse. I was going back to work. I was trying to unlock the door to my car. And so I got my driver's door open and this huge gust of wind came along. And it like that piece of paper fell out of my hand and it landed open on the passenger seat. And curiosity killed the cat, right? So I looked at it and it said 275. Now that kind of hurt, but what hurt even more was the label of morbidly obese. And I thought, oh my gosh. At this point, I was on my second marriage, raising 7 children. We had full custody of all of them. My husband was deployed. So I had 4 step-kids who were very young. And my kids, my twins were probably 9 and my youngest was 7. And I thought, this beep has got to stop. Yeah. I have got to figure. I felt like this was the end of the road. This was it. This was going to be my line of demarcation. Now, it took me another 5 months until I figured out exactly what I wanted to do to fix or to reverse this situation. And here's the other really cool thing about your body. Within a 7-year span, you have an all new body. So what do I mean by that? Every single day, we have cells that are turning over. Some of our cells are turning over multiple times a day. You think about your skin cells, like those generally turn over in about 28 days. Well, we have other cells within our body, which make up the health of our body, that are turning over, monthly, et cetera. But by the time you get to a 7-year mark, all of the cells have regenerated. And so you have a choice, I have a choice, that either every single day, we are going to eat something that is good for our body and stop the alcohol and drink the water, so that every single day we are regenerating ourselves to be healthy cells. Because guess what? If you have sick cells, they're going to regenerate as sick cells. If you have healthy cells, they're going to regenerate as healthy cells. So it was this beautiful time of, okay, there's nothing else I can do. I have to take charge. I'm not going to trust anyone else. I'm going to sit down and read about it. I'm going to figure it out. But it was really that piece of paper and that gust of wind.
That gust of wind, it was like a sign. And again, I want to reiterate, you might be sitting out there and watching this or listening to this and thinking to yourself, you know what? I don't really have a weight problem per se, but maybe you're just always tired and run down and anxious and not feeling well. And you just can't seem to find that balance in life or that calibration that you need. And that also comes from everything that you speak of, Martha.
Or think of it this way, like, okay, I am not overweight, but why do I suddenly have acne? Or why am I suffering from psoriasis? Or why is my child suffering from psoriasis or eczema or rosacea? Guess what? All of those things come from the foods that we eat. So if you clean all that up, stop giving your kid all that processed stuff, their eczema and psoriasis. I used to have psoriasis the plaque of the psoriasis was so massively built up all over my head. I was born with this, an autoimmune condition. It was behind my ears when I was a really little child. And so we would always put these ointments on it or these steroidal creams. But then in my 40s, when I started to really clean up my food, all of it went away. So things like that can go into remission, if you will. Like your autoimmune issue doesn't fully go away, but you can put it at bay just by the foods that you eat.
Interesting. Other thing is the testing, knowing what's going on in your body. We touched about this, about falling in the normal range of blood work. Another really good reason to go to some of these specialists is that, there's been, from what I understand, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm a TV host and former journalist, but after COVID, our immune systems are kind of wonky. Some people might say it's from the virus itself. Some wonder if, maybe the vaccine. People are still talking that will ever be a debate. Yes. But there are things happening to people on a long hauler level, where another one that you actually helped me pinpoint, guiding me to go to one of these functional medicine experts. And that was this Epstein-Barr that is like, it is like knocking people off their feet and they don't even know they have it. But it is like, it's the virus. 99% of us, I was told, if you went to Walmart and you had 100 people step outside and you tested all 100 people for the Epstein-Barr virus, 99% of people, or 99 of those 100, would have Epstein-Barr laying dormant in their body. But when it wakes up, which incredible stress can do to you, issues going on with people dealing with this long haulers, COVID, when it wakes up, it knocks you off your feet and you have no idea what's going on. So there's so many elements of your body and what's going on that if you don't find that balance and balance it out with the right nutraceuticals, the right foods, it's like keeping that well-oiled machine going.
Correct. And no one is going to be your best advocate unless you choose to be your best advocate. And look, I'm not an anti-vaxxer.
Nor am I.
I just believe in choices and I believe in education behind it. And I'll tell you, there wasn't a lot of education behind that COVID.
Because we're in emergency. Like they were like, we gotta,
correct.
We were in a state of emergency, but we don't know the aftermath from the virus. We don't know the aftermath. So I think that, whatever it is, we do know that millions of Americans are still dealing with some type of after effect.
Correct.
And this is yet another reason to kind of find out, if you're not feeling well, if you're feeling drained, what's going on.
Right. And I think it's important. Like a lot of doctors don't even need to test for Epstein-Barr anymore. I mean, you give them certain things that you feel and they're like, oh yeah, you have Epstein-Barr. And I don't want to do a deep dive in that because people are like, well, what's Epstein-Barr? But you're absolutely right. Epstein-Barr is a virus that lives in all of us until there is something like generally a physiological stressor that triggers it. Then it penetrates your cells and it gets into the mitochondria, which is your energy source. And that's why people feel completely zapped. The other thing that would be really interesting, if we can, is to talk about this whole Ozempic era of weight loss, right? And
let's talk about that.
Okay, so here's the thing. Look, that was a drug that was made for diabetics or pre-diabetics, and it definitely has its place. And so, yes, the FDA then did clear the Wegovy version of Ozempic, made by the same pharmaceutical company, for weight loss. Now, here's the thing. If you have 20 pounds to lose and you take the compounded version of Ozempic or Wegovy or even Mounjaro. If you take that and you have 20 pounds to lose, here's what's going to happen. You're going to lose those 20 pounds, but you're going to lose 20 pounds of those 20 pounds, you're going to lose 15 pounds of lean muscle and 5 pounds of fat.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Why the lean muscle?
Takes it both.
It takes it both. It can't discriminate, right? So it's going to essentially make you a tiny person, but a very non-muscular person, even if you have little muscle. You and I work out all the time. So imagine someone who's not even working out. It's going to rob you of the things that you need every single day to function properly and stand up, right? So you're going to end up losing, of those 20 pounds, 15 of that is coming from your lean tissue, your muscles, and then 5 of that's coming from fat. Now, if we didn't use things like these weight loss shots, then you have 20 pounds to lose. You're going to lose 15 pounds of fat and 5 pounds from your lean tissue. So it's just kind of like you need to go into this with your eyes wide open. We don't know enough about the long-term ramifications of using a med like this. Does it work? Absolutely it does. It's a beautiful combination, and it does. Here's something that's really cool about it. They have found with more of these studies is that it really does attack, or quiets the addictive center of our brain. So they're finding that for drug users or for alcoholics, they're finding that this is a really great medicine for them to quiet down that addictive center to their brain. So there are many, many, many uses, but I just think it's one of those things, kind of like a vaccine, where you have to be your own best advocate and be educated to know, okay, I'm going in with my eyes wide open.
Right.
But then you have to think about the long-term plan. So I have a lot of people still come to me and say, okay, Martha, full disclosure, I'm using Ozempic or Wegovy or a semaglutide version of these things. How should I be eating? Great question. I have a lot of people who say, I want to get off the shot, but I don't know how to get off the shot without gaining weight. Or like, if I get off the shot, can I just start eating healthy? Like maybe eat 3 or 4 really good meals? No, it's kind of like I did a couple bodybuilding competitions, and those pictures are in here too. I look at those like, oh my gosh. But you have to reverse engineer this. So if you are someone using one of these weight loss shots, just know, okay, we don't know the full ramification. We don't know the long-term results. You have to realize you're losing lean muscle, right? Lean muscle tissue, which is what you actually need to lose weight. But then also you got to realize, okay, if and when you choose to come off that, first of all, if you're on it now, I would slowly titrate down. Titrate's just a big word for like, okay, if I took a shot once a week, maybe now I step it to twice a week. And then when I get
Like almost put yourself on a maintenance program.
Correct. But then you also have to figure, okay, now I have to start eating whole foods, healthy foods, foods from the ground, foods from a mother, chicken, eggs, things like that. But you can't go back to eating 4 or 5 meals like maybe you used to in the past. You can't. Your body won't allow that. So you have to slowly step back into eating normally. So just eyes wide open.
Eyes wide open. And just to add on to it, because we have talked to a lot of doctors on Bloom about Ozempic. If you're asking questions, you need to know who's compounding it, because not all Ozempic or semaglutide is created equally. So you need to know what pharmacy it's coming from. Do not allow it to come pulled out of it loses its power if you take it out and they just give you the syringes of the medication.
It needs to come in the little bottle.
Yeah.
Right.
There's blood tests that you can do to make sure that you're not going to lean into any problems, make sure this kind of should be working for you. And, back to what Martha was saying about losing the muscle mass, protein is your best friend on this. And most of us are not getting, especially as we age, we're not getting the protein that we need. And these are just things that I'm passing along to you that were told to me from doctors.
And you're spot on.
Many of whom are like, look, any drug's going to come with its pros and with its cons. But, so some people that are morbidly obese or overweight, then they're starting to see their cholesterol levels coming down. If they do stress tests on their heart, it's better. So it's finding that balance. But to your point, it is kind of becoming almost like a designer drug where, some people need to lose massive amounts of weight and get their diabetes under control. Others want to just lose 10, 15 pounds that you just can't seem to shake.
Right.
So,
and let it be known, I'm not knocking anyone for taking this.
No, nor am I.
Not at all. Because I do see some people who are way over 300 pounds who every part of them is so diseased and they've lost hope. They're because they're food addicts. Look, I used to be there. I get it. There was never enough, right? So I'm now seeing these women. It makes me happy for them that, they've lost 75, they've lost 100 pounds. But they also know, okay, how am I going to sustain this when I do get down to a healthy weight, whether that's 140, 150, 170 for them, whatever it is. But you're right.
You got to start thinking of the exit strategy because you can't live on it forever. Might take you to where you want to be, make you feel better, incentivize you, but then just start researching how to step it down. This has been an amazing conversation as always. I get to talk to her all the time because we're pals, but I love talking to you on Bloom, but those segments only are 6-7 minutes long. And we can touch only the tip of the iceberg, but it's great.
We could go on for hours.
Yeah, we could.
How long you got?
Yeah, Brody, how long you got? But thank you, Martha. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody.